The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. At that time, Jesus exclaimed, "I give praise to you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, for although you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, you have revealed them to little ones. Yes, Father, such has been your gracious will. All things have been handed over to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son wishes to reveal him. Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart, and you will find rest for yourselves. For my yoke is easy and my burden light." The Gospel of the Lord. Our ears should perk up anytime we hear Jesus give praise in the Gospel. That's what he does today in today's reading, that Gospel I just read. He says, "I give praise to you, Father, for although you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, you have revealed them to the little ones, to the childlike." Jesus is giving thanks to God the Father because even though the wise and the learned, those scribes and Pharisees, even though they can't recognize him, the little ones at least, the childlike, at least they can recognize who he is. So he's having some success. So what is it about the wise and the learned? Why can't they see Jesus? Why can't they recognize him? And at the same time, what is it about the childlike and the little ones? Why can they recognize him? Well, the childlike, the little ones, they have a special characteristic, right, that allows them to see Jesus. You know, every Thursday, I like to go over to Trisha and Justin's house for dinner. Trisha is my sister, Justin is her husband, my brother-in-law. And I love going over there because I get to spend time with their kids. Chris, who is 14, he'll be starting at Loyola next year. Go Cubs. Very happy for him, Jesuit school. Very happy for him. And every time I go over there, he loves to tell me all the things he's learning in school, the books he's reading, the sports he's playing, things he's doing with his friends. And then also he teaches me some of the cool, hip, new sayings that kids these days say. Stuff like sus, which apparently means suspect, you can't trust that person, sus, maybe you can use that one. Also, no cap, that means like something is no joke, right? This is totally true, no cap. You can try that also. You'll seem very hip with everybody else. His sister Grayson, she always likes to play me new songs that she learns on the piano, and then she'll try to fool me with her riddles and her jokes. And then their youngest brother, Tristan, he'll always want to play me at chess or basketball or soccer or go for a bike ride. You know, I marvel at their energy, right? I marvel at the way that they look at the world with awe. They're so open to learning things, to having new experiences. Everything in this world for them is so new and so powerful. And they're able to do that because they possess that very special characteristic that allows the childlike to see Jesus, to recognize Jesus. And that characteristic is an attitude of receptivity. An attitude of receptivity where you're able to learn or able to take in or able to see the world anew in a very real way. Things that are necessary in order to recognize Jesus. And for Jesus, according to Jesus, the wise and the learned, they don't have this characteristic, right? They know it all already. They've seen everything. A bit more cynical. They've learned everything. They don't need to be receptive. Today we continue our preaching series entitled Your Turn. Your Turn. And we're looking at ways, we're exploring this idea of what does it mean to be a grown-up? What does it mean to be an adult? What does it mean to be mature? Not in the eyes of society, but through the eyes of God, through the eyes of Jesus. What does it mean to be an adult? How do we become an adult according to Jesus? Well, for Jesus, in order for us to become an adult, to be grown up, well, he has a paradox, right? In order for us to grow up, we must be like children. We must be childlike. Not childish. Nobody likes a 20, 30-year-old baby, right? Nobody wants to be like that. But we must be childlike. That means that we recognize that we are children of God, obedient to the Father, obedient to his will. So in order for us to be childlike, we must adopt this attitude of receptivity. And it would be important for us to adopt this idea, this attitude of receptivity, for two reasons. Number one, Jesus adopted this attitude of receptivity, right? This childlike attitude of receptivity. Throughout all the Gospels, Jesus always refers to himself as Son. Son of the Father, Son of God, Son of Man. All throughout the Gospels, he's always recognizing his childlike nature. And then in today's Gospel, we can hear about him and how he has this attitude of receptivity. He tells us, everything has been handed over to me by my Father. He recognizes everything that he has is gift. He has received it all. And then, of course, if this is a key component for Jesus' life, which allowed him to connect to the Father, then it ought to be a key component to our lives as well, because we would like to connect to the Father in the similar way that Jesus did. And the second reason why it would be important for us to adopt this idea, this attitude of receptivity, is because it'll give us all something that all of us want, something that all of us need, something all of us seek. And it's rest. Rest. All of us are burdened in this world, right? Burdened with family issues or friendship issues, relationships, financial, health issues. On a deeper level, we could be burdened by our fears, our anxieties. All these things burden us, and we carry all these heavy loads, right? And we try to control all these things in our lives so that everything goes according to our plan, our will, our desire. And that could be very tiring. It could be very tiring. So in order for us to deal with that, we ought to adopt this attitude of receptivity. In doing so, we become receptive to God's will, to God's plan. We hand over control to Jesus, right? We hand over control to Jesus, and we are given rest. We are given rest. And Jesus promises us that rest in the gospel. He says, "Come, all you who are burdened, all you who are weary, and I will give you rest." I will give you rest. But that doesn't mean we're going to go on a vacation or it's going to be like a 3-day weekend. No, we have to still do all the things that we have to do as responsible adults, but we do them with an attitude of receptivity. Attitude of receptivity. So what does that mean, or how do we adopt this attitude of receptivity? Well, I have a few suggestions. Number one, learn something new. You're never too old to learn something new. It could be a language, it could be a musical instrument, it could be gardening, cooking, surfing, whatever, but learn something new. You're never too old to learn something new. If you're not ready to learn something, big new, maybe just try something new. Try a type of food that you never had. Try reading a book that you wouldn't think that you'd be interested in. Try a new way, a new direction to work, or try a new type of prayer. But try something new. Maybe if you're not ready to learn something new or try something new, well, rethink a long-held position or belief. It could be spiritual, it could be religious, it could be political, but rethink something that you have held as true for a long time. By learning something new, by trying something new, by rethinking a long-held position, this can open you up. This can open us up. It can make us more receptive to seeing things in a different perspective, where we can learn something new, and hopefully it can help us see Jesus, experience Jesus in a new and exciting and powerful way. And while it might seem counterintuitive in our already busy lives to add something more to our own lives, maybe it's time to look at our lives and take things away or cut out activities that are no longer life-giving, but we continue to do them because we have some sort of control over them. By becoming like a child, by becoming childlike, we become more like Jesus. Jesus, who always identified his own sonship, his own childlike nature. It is time for us to grow up, right? It's time for us to grow up. So we ought to take on this attitude of receptivity, become childlike, and we will find rest.